Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Shane, and he's selling his Amazon Associates affiliate and display advertising business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Shane, and how are you doing today?
Fantastic. I'm finally kind of excited that the winter is ending and we're entering the spring season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm really excited that we're getting into some better weather now. And, it's always great to see that things are moving forward, I guess, in the world, considering what's been going on this last year or two. But that's great. Yeah, it's really nice to have you on the call. I'm really excited to talk to you about this business. But before we get started, let's give a quick overview. So it is an affiliate, Amazon Associates, and display advertising business in the jewelry niche, created in February 2019. The average monthly revenue for the business is $17,881 and makes an average of $17,764 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 51819 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. Now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the domain and all site content and files. So Shane, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure, yeah, happy to do that. So I guess where do I begin? Man, well, I'm a former accountant, not necessarily a traditional digital marketer or didn't go to school for marketing. I went to school for accounting and business and ultimately didn't feel like that was the career path for me. Call it 5 years ago. I sort of on the side built a business, an e-commerce niche first in the bow tie niche, but after investing all my money into the inventory for that business, I didn't really have any money left over for advertising. So I kind of sort of was forced to get really good at SEO and first really build up a blog, generate traffic, ultimately make money on that business. So that's really where I cut my teeth and ultimately got a lot of my skill when it comes to building these types of online businesses. After the bow tie site, I ended up pivoting away from bow ties and men's fashion, really because bow ties, it's not a super broad niche. It's fairly very specific. In fact, the SEO potential is very low because there's just not that many people searching for bow tie stuff. So I pivoted away from that into other niches, like home services niches, like plumbing, painting, pest control, that sort of thing, just because I thought there'd be more opportunity there, more ways to make money in ways that I didn't have to buy inventory. So I thought was really intriguing. That's where I really started to dig into content sites and really started growing a portfolio of businesses for myself, all on the back of SEO and content and affiliate, right? So I built up a number of sites, ended up selling a few. And then around February of 2019, which is when this business started, a jewelry site. I thought jewelry had a really interesting appeal to me. Most diamonds and jewelry are sold brick and mortar. So I thought that niche had a lot of opportunity to sort of move more digital. And I thought that this site could be sort of a vehicle to get in front of that early. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Also, I didn't really love the content that was out in market. So I thought that, I could really bring an expert perspective on diamonds and jewelry to ultimately help the consumer and create a really great, valuable asset in the jewelry niche, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it and a little bit about my background. It's been about 5 years since the bow tie site. I have a lot of reps under my belt and I have a lot of sort of process and learnings over the years. So I feel really good about my ability to create more. And this site in particular is one of those.
Yeah, no, it's definitely apparent. Even just looking at the listing and seeing some of the metrics for the business and seeing the growth trends for both earnings and also page views as well. Yeah, it's really great to see that. So with this business, it has, several different monetizations. You have affiliate income, Amazon Associates, display advertising. So what would you say is primarily making the most money for the business at this time?
Definitely the affiliate revenue, not Amazon. Amazon is really sort of again, through my experience in the industry with content sites, monetizing with Amazon is super duper easy. It's like the easiest monetization you could do for a site like this. So I figured it would be stupid for me not to at least throw it on the site and try to make a little bit of extra money with it. But the main monetization isn't Amazon. It's actually just pure affiliate working with brands and ultimately monetizing with them, which is the best, right? Because those types of monetizations tend not to change, or they actually get better over time. Whereas Amazon, I mean, if you're selling Amazon Associates, great, and I love it. And there's a ton of those sites out there, but obviously Amazon is high risk. Anytime you do business with Amazon, like you're always like on borrowed time with how they, any given time they could cut rates, which they did in May, obviously. They're a huge behemoth and you're essentially at their mercy with that type of stuff. So yeah, we're pure affiliate. We do make money with display ads, and yeah, display ads is, I guess, the other type of monetization. And that's, again, monetizing lower intent traffic that really doesn't really convert to any kind of affiliate offer. So instead of just like letting those eyeballs go to waste, we want to make sure we make money on those eyeballs as well with display ads, which is how the site makes money partially.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really good takeaway, maybe for our listeners that are kind of wanting to hear your approach in monetizing this business and seeing that you've already kind of established, what works and what doesn't. So that's really great to see. So if the business is doing so great right now, Shane, why is it that you've decided you'd like to sell it?
Just focus. I think I have what would you call it? I guess a New Year's resolution to sort of go from like 6 or 7 projects to like 1 or 2 max. As entrepreneurs tend to do, they start a lot of stuff and they ultimately divide their focus. And it's just, I am definitely in that camp where I have a lot of ideas and I try to execute on as many as I can. And it's just one of the ones that are doing quite well. So I'm like, let me just kind of round out these projects. And again, I'm not like dying to sell the site. Like I'm trying to put it in the market, just offload it to help with mental bandwidth so I can focus on other projects. But I don't need to sell it. So if the right buyer doesn't come along, I'm not like a motivated seller, I guess I'm trying to say. And this is not the only site I'm selling. I'm selling a couple others in my portfolio, much smaller, relatively speaking, but just again, all in the spirit of focusing on 1 or 2 things and really making those shine. It really just comes down to focus and sort of handing off the site to somebody who has more focus themselves and also the resources to really take it to the next level. Because I really do think that, diamonds and jewelry, huge niche opportunity, absolutely huge, probably an 8-figure opportunity if I had to put a number on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just seeing the numbers, and you've been growing this business since 2019 now and seeing what it's done, it's really great to see those projections. Now, was there anything that you learned while you were growing this business that you plan on applying to current or future projects down the road?
That's a good question. I would say there's always little things you learn, you pick up, you don't really know you pick them up until you use them later. I would say, I guess with this site in particular, I got really clear on what good content looks like and what it doesn't look like. And I feel like every time I start a new site or work on something new with content sites or SEO-centric sites, you always kind of level up your content game. I think, if you're playing the SEO game, which the site is, and a lot of sites are as well, it really just comes down to quality content, right? If you're trying to play the long game with Google at the end of the day wants to serve quality sites, right? Quality content that actually serves value, is unique, has unique perspectives, is not just the same kind of content rehashed from 12 different other sites on the internet. So that was kind of the approach I took with this site and the approach I took when I was hiring the writer, and essentially how I trained the writer to write in a way where it wasn't just rehashing what was out there, it was brand new. So I think going through some of those reps, some of those cycles, I think I'm going to be taking that away from this site in terms of a big win, because I think ultimately it's helping the site grow. And I think the content really resonates with the users in the niche, which is why it's having a lot of success. And Google sees that. So it's like this virtuous cycle, right? Google sees that users are on your site, clicking things, engaging with the site. Therefore, it gets more love from Google, and then more higher rankings, more people. It just it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. And I think it's really showing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we always say quite often here as well. I mean, quality content should never be pushed to the side, or, just utilizing rehashed content, as you mentioned, shouldn't be on the forefront of your thought in growing a business, especially if you're wanting to keep people engaged on the site. So yeah, it's really great that you kind of have that same mindset and you've taken that same approach with this business. Now, was there anything that you tried with this business and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
Yeah, definitely. The thing about SEO sites and content sites, everybody looks at them like, man, I could do that, right? I can make that site. And like, they might even be looking at my site right now and be like, I could rebuild that and beat him, well, I'll be honest, it's not that easy, right? Like there were a lot of things I tested while working on my site that didn't work. You just don't know which keywords are the ones that will ultimately make you money and which ones are a waste of time. So I think that's probably the biggest learning as I'm, really another takeaway from this site is that, man, keywords matter, and some keywords are better than others. And, I would argue that I'm fairly good at keyword research, and even I had a hard time finding the right keywords in this niche. But ultimately, I did, which is why the site is doing well. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I created content, didn't quite get the ROI I was looking for on some of the pieces of content, which is why we're monetizing with display ads on those pieces of content to get some ROI back, but not quite as much as I wanted, right? So, yeah, I would say that would be my biggest point there.
Gotcha. So where would you say that a majority of your traffic is coming from then? Is most of it coming from SEO, or are you also running any type of display advertising to get people and traffic to the business?
Yeah, it's pure SEO, 100% organic. I do think there is an opportunity to run a paid campaign to the site for certain posts and certain articles, especially during certain times of the year when, holidays, big sales are happening, Black Friday, obviously. So I do think there's a paid opportunity. I didn't mention it in the listing, but I do think that is an opportunity, and I have looked into it. Right now, as it stands, 100% organic traffic.
Okay. Now, I saw with the business and what is included, you have the domain and all of the site content and files. Now, have you tried anything else outside of some traditional marketing as far as like maybe trying to build an email list or maybe doing some social media experimentation?
Yeah, I do think both of those areas can be definite growth levers. Email list I'm building actually right now. I'm testing different sort of ebooks to start building the list. And I had plans to start a Facebook group led by the writer. So I think that's another area of growth where essentially you build a loyal fan base of jewelry and diamond enthusiasts that follow a guru, so to speak, which would be the writer. And you promote products as they happen, or their sales and whatnot. And you promote them to those various channels. I have not had the time to work on both of those things. Again, this goes back to the focus. I don't have the time to work on the business sides it should be worked on. I do have lots of ideas of growth. YouTube is another area where I think it would really crush in terms of growth, just because it's, jewelry, again, it's a passion niche. People want to know as much about it as possible. People do a ton of research before buying diamond or jewelry piece for their significant other. So yeah, I mean, all the above are areas of growth potential that really could, again, get this to an 8-figure business in short order.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really great that already basically answered my next question on some of the ways that you would personally try and grow it if you did keep the business. So yeah, I'm sure, any potential buyers that are listening to this call, they can also see the value in, sort of that roadmap that you currently have for this business and pushing it to, as you had said, the 8-figure range. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your daily or weekly work tasks that you're performing on this business at the time?
Yeah. So right now, my daily, weekly work tasks, really just working with a writer to make sure they're busy. She's basically just 100% writing for the site. She's sort of a certified diamondologist. She really knows diamonds. She does not know SEO. So I need to make sure she understands the game a little bit so that she writes in a way where we'll produce results from Google. Yeah, I mean, my daily task right now is just managing her. I have a Slack channel where we share, email, Slack, whatever. If she has questions, I basically give her like a monthly task list of all the things I want her to do, whether it's refreshing articles or building new articles, or creating ebook guides, or really whatever content related things I need. I'll essentially give her like many, many tasks for the month, like once a month. And then periodically throughout the week, she'll just email me if she has a question, or I'll touch base, be like, hey, how's it going? If I don't have anything else going on. But yeah, once I sort of do the monthly handoff, she's essentially on her own. At this point, she's been trained, so it doesn't really take a lot of my time to check in on her, because I know, one, I trust her. So that's another big thing. Trust that she's getting the work done. But two, she really do a great job, right? So there's not a lot for me to really do outside of just kind of spot checking her work here and there.
Okay. And then is she willing to continue on with the new owner, or would the potential buyer need to find someone else to replace them?
No, yeah, she's 100% on board, whoever is running the site. She loves diamonds. She loves writing for the site. She loves jewelry. She loves helping people pick jewelry. So yeah, there's definitely a market, product market fit match for her skills in the site. So definitely we'll stick around for the new ownership.
Okay, that's really great to hear. So do you feel that there's any particular skill set that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business? Or do you feel fairly confident that a new owner could come in, learn the process during the transition and during the phase of handing over the business?
Yeah, I mean, especially with, I know part of the listing says 30 days of support, a couple of Skype calls with me. So I think those two things, really anybody could probably buy this and build it and grow it. I would say the only person if you don't have time, if you're trying to build a portfolio of sites, I get it. And as long as you have somebody managing sites, I know there's like multiple different buyer avatars out there. There's portfolio buyers, there's maybe single operators, maybe like groups that are in the jewelry niche. I would say that unless you have some time to grow it, like basically what I can't do, I don't have any time to grow it. Argue those people might be the wrong people, but if you have some time and you like diamonds and jewelry, I think it's the perfect business because it really doesn't take. I mean, again, I don't really do anything right now, like in terms of time investment. A lot of that was upfront, but in terms of growth and getting it to the 8-figure number, yeah, you definitely got to put some time in it. And part of 30-day sort of support period and Skype calls definitely will set you up or set someone up to take it to that level.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. And ultimately, coming down to the transition period, that's something that can be handed off and quite easily as well. Now, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Yeah, like any SEO-centric business, Google's always a risk. You just never know with algorithm updates. I would argue that ours is, sort of, as far as these types of sites go, this particular site is probably in a better position than most because the content is so good. Also, the site was built so intentionally, right? I don't know who's listening to this, but if you have any SEO sort of eye, you can see very clearly that there was an SEO putting it together, right, from day zero. At the end of the day, like the site was built for Google to crawl it in the most efficient way possible. Also built with the mindset to have the highest quality content possible. And those two things withstanding, like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Google's always a risk. That's inherent with this type of business model. As far as other risks, the brands that I partner with can always change how much they're paying. I mean, they're the customers, right? It's just like Amazon can change their rates. Anybody can change their rates, right? It's just what it is. Would I argue that the risk is low? Yes, the risk is low, but it's there, right? It has to be addressed. I would argue that the way I've set up the business made it in such a way where the risk is inherently low. It's already diversified, right? So even if one of the brands kind of was like, I'm going to turn the rates down, I have others that I've already partnered with that have just as good experiences. And it would take a little bit of rejiggering on the site to sort of reorient the site to maybe promote one brand over another to make up for the difference. If that were to be a case, again, the risk is low. So I'm not worried at all. That's pretty much it. I mean, those are the main risks that I would say exist.
Yeah, no, it's great to see that you've diversified the sources, not only just for the monetizations themselves, but also with the affiliate brands. And as you had mentioned, even if one changed their rates over another, something that you already have thought of and prepared for. So yeah, it's really great to see that you've taken that approach. So Shane, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning any other future or current projects you're working on, you'll stay out of this specific niche moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any intention of sticking around in the diamond jewelry niche at all. So 100% don't compete.
Got it. That's good to hear. So you touched base on this slightly earlier, but how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
Yeah, so I've gone back and forth with a couple of buyers that have floated a couple ideas in addition to what's currently offered. So what's currently offered is the 30 days email plus 2 Skype calls, which I think is fine. And I think most buyers, that'll be fine for them. Now, if you wanted to, and you wanted to retain me as a consultant at an arm's length, where I basically would advise on decisions, I can offer that as well. That was something a buyer had floated to me, and I thought that was a good sort of in between. I'm definitely not going to do any work on the site, like write new content or like optimize titles, right? That would definitely be more on the new buyer's plate. Obviously, the writer will do whatever you want the writer to do. But as far as how I could support a new buyer if they bought the site, yeah, 30 days of email support and 2 Skype calls. I think that's like 100%. All buyers would get that. Selectively, if you're like, hey, I really want Shane for 6 to 12 months just for additional support, we can arrange a consulting sort of arrangement where there would be some kind of after the fact payment for consulting services where, again, I would weigh in on decisions, make sure you're not going down the wrong path, help make you provide focus. Happy to do that, maybe 30-minute calls weekly or something, or bi-weekly, whatever it is, right? So yeah, I can support something like that.
Okay. That's really great. At least willing to go above and beyond the normal or the average typical support that, most sellers offer. And I'm sure potential buyers that are listening to this call that can also see the value in that in wanting to work with you, because ultimately, it's obvious you're wanting to see this business succeed. So that's really great to see. Now, Shane, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and in smaller payments closing out the deal over the course of a few months after that?
Maybe. It really depends on the details of the earnout. Probably not a performance-based earnout if you want to do like more of a payment plan type earnout where some percentage of the fee was upfront and then the rest was just paid over 6 months or something. That's fine. I'm not interested in a performance-based earnout if that is a path that obviously I recognize that a performance-based earnout balances risk on the seller buyer side. I'm just not interested in that for right now. So if that's what a buyer wants to do, then I'm not going to do it. And I'll just hold on to the business until it shows enough of a track record where that is not a thing that a buyer would need.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable, and also good that you had mentioned that as well. So just in case, anyone is on the fence on reaching out, they kind of understand your stance on that. So that's always great to hear. Now, just a few more sideline questions for you, Shane. So was there any software or tools that really helped you at the start of running this business?
Obviously SEO tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush are sort of like table stakes to make sure you're making the right SEO decisions. Any other tools? I mean, the site is built with Elementor, to help sort of structure it, which I honestly think is a pro because Elementor is like a drag and drop builder, kind of like Squarespace. So it really makes it, if a new buyer is not ultra tech savvy, the site is built such a way where they don't really need to be tech savvy. A new buyer could pick it up and start changing things how they want, sort of from day zero. Don't necessarily need a developer for that, which is great, I think. Other software, I use some on-page SEO tools like ClearScope and Surfer. Like those are nice to have, not really need to have. I have multiple sites, so I can sort of spread that cost over multiple sites. Again, like nice to have, not need to have. I could have still very easily built the site as it stands without those tools, but if they're available, I kind of use them. I'm trying to think, is there any other tools? There's nothing sophisticated, right? It's very much like, hey, do the SEO, get the keywords you think are going to work, get a writer write them, get them on the site, and then that's it. I mean, there's not like some wizardry behind the scenes that's like spinning up all this work and getting it done. So nothing like that.
Yeah, no, it's really good mention. And, all of those software tools that you mentioned as well, I'm quite familiar with. That's kind of what I ultimately started with in my online career as well, is starting with some of those page builders. And, obviously Ahrefs is something I use on a daily basis as well, too. So really great tool. So why do you think that this business model is great for those who are interested in getting started in online business?
I mean, content sites are the lowest intensity in terms of what you need to do. I would say that if you're in Amazon, so I've done all the online businesses. I have a perspective on everything. So I think I don't want to be sound bloated, or bragging or anything, but I have experience with e-commerce, Amazon FBA, content sites, Amazon associate sites, pure Amazon associate sites, pure non-Amazon associate sites, display ad sites. I have experience with almost every single type of business model. Probably the only one is maybe drop shipping, but even that one I have some experience in. Anyway, my perspective is that content sites are the lowest rung in terms of day-to-day need of time of all of them. FBA businesses, e-commerce businesses, they all have massive cash flow management requirements, right? Like if you're running an e-commerce business, you have to manage your inventory and you got to make sure you're not out of stock. And that takes day-to-day time. Plus, you're probably managing paid ads unless you have a massive organic footprint that's sending you traffic every day to sell your e-commerce stuff. You're definitely managing paid ads. You're definitely managing inventory. You're definitely managing cash flow to make sure you have enough money to pay for more inventory. And then oh yeah, I don't get my inventory for 3 to 6 months. It's okay, hopefully you scheduled that all out so you don't out of stock. And then, if you're then going out of stock, that affects your rankings on an Amazon FBA business. So that is all part of the game, right? For other types of business models, content sites like this, not the case, right? You're never pretty much always making money because it's always behind, essentially passive income, right? Once you get the site running, the content up, the site's making money, right? The only management is of the writer and potentially link building if you want to continue doing that or do additional content promotion, as they say. So yeah, of all the business models, this one is by far the best for beginners. And even, I would say for all skill levels, right? Beginners, intermediate, advanced, it's probably the best across the board in terms of ROI, time investment. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I feel that, building up a quality content site such as the one that you have here is also going to, pay dividends in the long term, because as you had mentioned, you're not having to deal with inventory. You're not having to deal with, maybe customer service support issues. I mean, I'm sure, you can always send your comments on the site to the spam folder if you'd like. So you really don't even have to, speak with some of the traffic at sometimes with content sites. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that front.
The customer service point you made is maybe even, I will underscore that one, because that one is one that you don't even expect, but it comes up on you. And then you're literally, I had it when I was doing my bow tie site, I was sending packages to Abu Dhabi, and like the guy would call me, be like, I didn't get your package. I'm like, I know where it is, dude. Like it's gone. So like that type of stuff, you don't really foresee it when you're buying an e-commerce business, but man, it comes and it's a pain in the butt. So not the case with content sites.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one as well. One thing that you did mention, though, I don't think we discussed in this call was link building. So with this business that you're selling, Shane, what has been your approach, or how have you approached link building for the site?
Yeah. So, I mean, for listeners who are, maybe more beginner, link building, getting links to your site and, links from other sites pointing to your site is how Google sort of associates value and, or, says that, oh, you are an authority on this topic in a niche. And as you build SEO centric sites, content sites like this one, you need them, right? At the end of the day, Google needs to see that your site is valuable and useful. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I know all the tactics. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know what the tactics that used to work like a year ago, now that don't work. So like, people can overcomplicate link building. I tend to be in the camp that I tend to have a couple different strategies. One of them is, hey, build great content and ultimately it will rank and you'll get organic links. That's one. That's like the best type of link, right? You don't have to do any work for that. And that's what we're working towards right now with the site. And it's going really well. We're getting a couple organic links every month now. But in the early days, you're not going to get any of those, right? So you need to actually do some proactive link building. And how I do that is I team up with agencies who actually do the link building as a service, right? Not buying links, which is against Google's terms of service. We don't do that. That's not white hat. I partner up with agencies that do link building as a service, where they'll promote our content that we create on the site for a fee, right? They want to get paid. They have their own employees. So there's a lot of bad link building agencies and vendors out there that I have sort of sifted through, and I have landed on best of the best that I know and have delivered great value. And I work with every day, right? Well, not every day, but once a month or so to make sure that they're building links and continuing to build the authority of the site. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand with link building for this site.
That's really great to hear your approach. Do you mind name dropping any of the agencies, or are those something that you'd like to keep to yourself?
I think they're in the listing. So if somebody is curious about some of the agencies, I listed a couple of them in the listing. Those are not all of them. So if you were to buy the site, you would get all of them as a bonus, a perk, if you will, who I work with, and some warm intros, so to speak.
Perfect. Yeah, that's really great to see. Again, you've built a really solid foundation here, and I'm sure any potential buyer that's looking at this listing and hearing this call now can really see the value and, and the professional approach you've taken in growing this business to the level it's reached. Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up this call. Final question I did have for you though, Shane, is putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer. Why do you think that your business is worth buying?
Yeah, probably like I'm in the industry. I know what's out there in terms of sites to buy. Very, very few come through that as branded, are in a burgeoning niche, are built with such an intentional SEO strategy. It's probably the most turnkey type of site you'll ever buy that is sort of ready to be grown, right? I am a frequent viewer of Empire Flippers listings, and while some of them are great, some of them are not so great. Like it depends on who built them, right? And I would argue selfishly that my site is among the best, right? And I think that a buyer seeing and hearing some of the things I've said on this call can start to see, oh yeah, like there's a difference between like top 10 men's shoes.com, which maybe makes $5,000 a month or whatever it is. But like, really, what's the upside there, right? Are you going to build top 10 men's best shoes.com to 8 figures? Probably not, right? But a branded site like mine, that's SEO sort of strategy in mind, with brands that want to invest in growth through their affiliate program, like all the intangible things are set up already from the get-go. It's the most turnkey type of content site you could possibly buy on the market right now, right? And these types of sites don't come along very often. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a seller that's like motivated to sell, so happy to sit on the site until the right buyer comes along. And yeah, that's kind of where I sit.
Yeah, no, that's really great hearing kind of the strategy and the mindset and, the foundation you've created with this business on the back end. And, I'm sure any of our potential buyers and listeners that are listening to this call can also see the value in kind of that approach you've taken with growing this business and ultimately want to be that right buyer for you. And that pretty much wraps up the call, Shane. So really, thanks again for jumping on the call and telling us a little bit about your background and story and how you grew this business to the level it's reached. And I'm sure we'll be seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And all right, everyone. So thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 51819. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.